Welcome to the next episode of the Dark Web Deacon. Before we begin, be sure to smash that subscribe button, click the bell to turn on notifications. New videos are published every Monday and Thursday, and as always, be sure to like and provide comments. In this episode, I'm going to go over the 4 P's of protecting your identity. These are really the 4 basic things that you need to be aware of at no cost to you to really be able to secure your identity for the long term. So the 4 P's are this: patching, passwords, public Wi-Fi, and protection software. So we're going to walk through each of these very quickly. I'm going to give you some great advice. So number 1, patching. This involves patching of laptops, tablets, phones, and routers. So you need to make sure that you have auto updates on for your laptops, tablets, and phones. Most modern devices now kind of turn that on by default. Sometimes people can accidentally turn it off, but it's always good, if you're not sure, to double check. Now, there's so many devices out there, I can't give specific details, but whatever your device is, you can easily Google verifying that auto updates are on for that device, and you can get step-by-step instructions for that. Routers are a little bit trickier. Generally, those updates are not on by default. So you have to kind of look up your specific router, and what you're going to look for if you want specific terms to Google is your router name and updating the firmware, FIRM-ware, W-A-R-E, firmware on your router. And there's usually a thing where you type in something to the effect of 192.168.1.1 or 1.0 in your browser on your laptop or device connected to that Wi-Fi. And it's basically the internet address of your actual router. And so you log into that router, and then you have access to a software interface, and you go through and you do those updates. So a little bit trickier, but still something to keep aware of. The next is passwords. So unique and long passwords are key. The other side of this is password managers. So without going into a ton of detail, in terms of making really good, unique, and long passwords, check out my video above on hard to crack and easy to remember passwords. And in terms of reviews and recommendations for password managers, check out my video above on top 5 password managers for 2020. So having a secure password manager allows you to maintain multiple types of passwords in one spot that are very long, very random, and very unique. But if you don't want to have to deal with maintaining a password manager, definitely think about having passwords specific to your financial accounts and passwords specific to your non-financial accounts. And the key is not having them be super random. It's all about having them to be long and easy to remember, because if you can't remember them and you got to write them down, that's generally not a good thing. The next up is public Wi-Fi. So the advice here is don't use it. Avoid it as much as possible. But, we like to be realistic on this channel. So if you do use it, make sure that it requires some type of password to gain access to it. If you can just click on the Wi-Fi name and you're in, definitely don't use it. Whether you're at the airport or a Starbucks, make sure there's some type of password that you need to actually gain access to it. If not, it can just definitely is potentially rife with people who are trying to steal identity using these open Wi-Fi accounts. And if you do log in through public Wi-Fi that even has a password, don't use it for any type of financial transaction. A nice alternative, if you are on the go, is use your cell phone as an internet hotspot that is available depending on your type of plan that you have, that is available. So it is a good alternative if you are on the move and you need to get online from your laptop or your tablet to actually connect it to your cell phone, which will connect out to the cell networks, and you'll be able to get internet access that way. And then the 4th P is protection software. So this is a very broad term, but it's broken into antivirus, firewall, and both free and paid identity protection software. So For antivirus, again, there's a lot of different devices, a lot of different types of systems out there, but for those who are using Windows, which is a lot of consumers, Windows security is on there by default, which has both an antivirus and a firewall. You can gain access and be able to review that by clicking on the search bar in your Windows device, Windows security, and it'll bring up that control panel. It's a good idea to do make sure it is enabled. It should be enabled by default. If it's not, obviously you maybe accidentally did it or something else is going on, but make sure it is enabled, both your antivirus and firewall and Windows security. And then do a full scan every now and then on Windows, especially if you're experiencing maybe some odd behavior. Just don't rely on the incremental scans that happen. Also, something that I do, and I will have the link below, is recommendations for alternative free antivirus software packages. So you can both have Windows Defender, or if you're on a Mac, the antivirus that's loaded on Mac and other devices. In addition, you can layer on another piece of antivirus. Years back, this would generally be a no-no because they usually had conflicts or the performance would be terrible. Antiviruses have really optimized their performance nowadays, where you can have a second antivirus layered on top. And what this does is different antiviruses can potentially catch different pieces of malware at different moments in time. And so this does add an extra layer of protection on there. So definitely check out that link on some alternatives. Personally, I use Avast as an alternative, in addition to any other antiviruses that are loaded on my devices by default. Firewalls, as I mentioned, firewalls generally kind of are under the covers. Those are used to block specific traffic to specific internet addresses and ports on your machine without getting into the really nitty-gritty technical details. Generally, as long as that's on by default, the average user, that's all you have to worry about. Just make sure you have a firewall enabled. If you have Windows security, it should be enabled. If you're a Linux user or other type of operating system user, make sure you have downloaded and installed a firewall and make sure that it is running. In terms of identity protection software, so there are a ton of free identity protection scans that are available that can scan your email, social, phone number for any type of footprint on the dark web, meaning potentially these items have been stolen as part of a data breach and that you may be vulnerable. So just Google free dark web scans or free identity protection scans and you'll find a ton of alternatives without having to actually sign up for anything long term. So those are all the free things you can do: zero cost, patching, passwords, public Wi-Fi protection software. There is also paid identity scans and ongoing monitoring that can be done. So there are a number of different packages and software. Here's 5 that are highly recommended as alternatives. They can range anywhere from $7 to $30. They offer things like ongoing dark web monitoring, credit reporting, credit monitoring, call center support. So if you're looking for something a little more robust and a little more of a helping hand, long-term and ongoing monitoring, these are also viable alternatives that are priced in various price points depending on what you're looking to do. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like, subscribe, and provide comments, and turn on notifications by clicking the bell in order to check out future videos published twice a week.